On this episode of the Tech Jawn, iOS 18 is available today. Fearless Fund drops its $20,000 grant program for Black women founders. Oprah held an artificial intelligence special, and Amazon wants corporate employees back into the office full time. Today is Monday, September 16th. This is episode 146 of the Tech Jawn. From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech, aka Happy Apple Updating Day. We got a bunch of OSs and stuff out. Got Macs, got iPhones, iPad watches, TVs, HomePods, AirPods, you name it. There's probably an update out for it right now.
I know, and this is going to be our first story. I asked about who's updating to iOS 18 today on Threads. And this may be my most viewed thread ever. We'll see. We'll wait till tomorrow. We'll see what the 24-hour mark is. But people are like, I am. And folks are now, what they're doing is they're sending screenshots of the new, I guess, the new wallpapers and just the way you can, use bigger icons and all the stuff you can do to, Terrance and Steph, y'all can tell me better than I could tell everybody else. But all the stuff you can do, people are taking screenshots of that and posting them up. And it's like, oh, this is actually pretty, it's pretty cool. I am not going to be one of those people that tells you, oh, you could do this on Android forever.
Thank you.
That really is starting to bother me.
Right.
It's like, okay, at this point, these phones have been around for a decade and a half. Android and Apple are going to bite from each other. That's just how it's going to be. Because and why they do it? Because it's a good idea. If people
and
like
the people who
it.
like whichever phone they like whichever phone they like. It's just like, we get it. All right, we get it, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna go out. Actually, though, I was. It's funny. I was on TikTok just before I got on, and a guy, I can't remember his name. I did follow him, but I can't remember his name right now. But he was talking about, how he would just what you said, Rob. How Apple needs to stop acting like, these releases are, grounded. They don't do anything. They don't add anything. Yada yada yada. He was fussing, but he had a Galaxy S24, and he was showing some of the stuff you could do with the stylus, using it as a shutter and different things around photos. And I was like, dang, that is kind of cool. Well, I wouldn't necessarily mind maybe just getting it as my camera, and having a second phone as a camera with that little functionality. I'm like, I have remote controls for my phone, but I thought that was pretty neat. And I do actually appreciate Samsung's image processing, even though it oversaturates the color and looks a little teeny bit fake. I do appreciate Samsung's image processing. So I don't know, might be something to look into.
So I have
as a hookup to answer your question, you can use your watch as a shutter for your camera. Oh, you knew that, right? Oh, okay. So it's
I don't wear I don't wear my watch.
Oh yeah, right. Got it.
I was just going to say that stylus trick is really cool. And if you're anything like me, if you were to ever get an S24, and I actually use it on my S22, if you were to ever have it, you'd pull it out. Oh, this is sweet. And you would use it for the first week, and then you would literally never use it again, to the point to where you forget that you even have it when it will become useful to you. Unless you're just creating videos all the time.
That would be the only reason. I wouldn't get a phone. I wouldn't change phones. Like, I would still use my iPhone as my phone. I'm thinking, though, like, as a second camera, get the S24 just for that functionality and be able to, do whatever like I said, and just for the image processing, for the way the pictures and video look. I'm probably not gonna do it, but it was definitely something I was like, oh, that's interesting. That would be a reason if I ever were to cross over to the dark side. That would be a reason to do it.
Dang, I got to be on the dark side today. All right. So Terrance, what's going on with this iOS 18? What is the good stuff in it? Several people in my Threads post said, no, I'm just going to wait until 18.1. I don't want my battery to overheat. I haven't really heard any issues with 18. So are you hearing issues, or is there a reason why you should not upgrade to this and wait for 18.1? It'll be out next month sometime.
The only reason why I would suggest you not do it, eventually gonna have to do it. But the learning curve is a little bit different. There are some settings like in the Photos app and in the Control Center and a couple other places, like in the calendar. You can tell there's been a difference in how things look, where things are. Now, they ain't shuffle everything everywhere, but you will be able to notice like some differences on some things that you use on a regular. I would assume like camera, mail, things like that. You may have to, in your camera, in the Photos app specifically, things have kind of moved around based on how you sort your photos. Do you sort them per album? Do you sort them per day, month, year? Do you sort them per subjects? Now you can go into the Photos app and filter per scenery, or filter for trees, or filter for text, pictures with text in them. You can do all these custom sort things, which they've kind of changed the layout of the Photos app. So that's going to be a little bit jarring. And again, I say jarring, maybe too much. That may not be a good of a word. There's an adjustment, not jarring. You will have to adjust to some things. But probably the first thing personally I noticed is the dedicated passwords app. Before, you had to go into the settings, go into iCloud, open up passwords, and it was kind of rudimentary, but it did let you create passwords for websites, right?
This was what, keychain?
Yes. It's keychain for the Mac, and then it was passwords for iPhone. But now they've merged all that up. Whether you're on an iPad, Mac, or an iPhone, they just got the dedicated passwords app that you can open up, and it gives you a couple cool options. It kind of breaks out the different passwords per, whether they're Wi-Fi passwords, whether they're app websites. It has a category for security. So if you've got some passwords that are kind of weak on their security, they've got a section in the passwords for that. And then the last section, I can't remember what it is. So they're breaking out the passwords into sections. So that's very helpful, especially like with Wi-Fi. Like, if you don't remember, there are some people out there who don't know what their Wi-Fi password is, but somebody comes to the house and say, hey, can I get your Wi-Fi? You can go into the passwords app and then copy and paste the password and give it right to, or share it. You ain't got to copy and paste it. You can share it to them from that passwords app. So that's probably going to be the first thing that I can think of outside of the learning curve, is people utilizing the passwords app a little bit more. Oh, the last category is the pass keys. So if you've created pass keys for websites, that'll be broken out into its own category within the passwords app.
I like the send later for the text messages. I will definitely be making lots of use of that for just like birthdays and different things like that. I did like that.
You about to automate the happy birthday text?
I'm about to automate that, Jawn. Listen, work smarter, not harder. I would like to get your take though, both of your takes though, on there is a new ability to lock or hide apps.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I saw Bark is a parental control app, very robust, very comprehensive parental control app that I recommend to a lot of people if you need that for your kid. I was looking at their Instagram today, and they were talking about how this may just add yet another way for kids to get over and hide stuff on the phone that they ain't got no business doing. And and I could definitely see that. I just was wondering what y'all's take might be on that.
Or Rob, did you have any thoughts?
So if I understand that new feature, it sounds similar to the secure folder on Android devices, or I should say on Samsung Galaxy devices, where I literally can create a folder, install a duplicate of an application in there that has its own settings and everything. It's different from the one that's on the standard.
We ain't got all that.
Okay, so it's not there, but I do have a capability to do that on my Galaxy device, where there's a secure folder. I can put all kind of notes in there, and they're secure. It either requires me to put in a pass key or unlock it with biometrics, in addition to opening the phone up with with your password or biometrics, and you can make those passwords different. So that is pretty cool. Anything that allows you to put stuff on there, because one of the things, back during when crypto was really hot, and I was doing, a bunch of stuff with like, various crypto coins, I would actually keep like my MetaMask, different passwords and stuff like that in my secure vault, just because I wanted an extra layer of security to make sure that if I accidentally left my phone sitting around and somebody got to it before it timed out on its own, that they couldn't get into money as far as I was concerned. So
Fair.
I don't use it often, but I do have some very, very important information in there that I would never want anyone to get access to. That that I've got to do some extra steps with additional passwords, additional types of authentication to get into that folder.
There's going to be collateral damage. The kids are always going to figure something out. It's just like a privacy thing. Apple is big on privacy, but they've always been at odds with the ability for parents or outside third party users or creators or developers to be able to integrate that tightly into the OS. So you're going to have some kids that are going to try to hide some of those apps within that hidden folder. It's not as fancy as the Samsung stuff, but the way that goes is you can actually the long press on an app. It'll do its little jiggle. And then one of the options will be to hide the app. You can't customize where you hide it. You can't create the folder. You can't change the name. But once you've hidden a app behind that, you select that option to hide the app. You go all the way over to the app library and scroll down to the bottom. There's a folder called hidden. It won't show you what's in the hidden, but if you tap that invisible or empty hidden folder, it'll ask for your biometrics, whether your Face ID or your Touch ID, and then it'll reveal those apps. Now, the drawback to that is any reference to that app from other apps. If you've created a shortcut using that app, if you share to that app, it's got a share screen, all that nullifies that in addition to notifications. So for
interesting.
What I was getting to, Stephanie, was a lot of the reasons why kids hide the app is because they're always in and out of it, and they don't want anybody to see what's going on. When you throw it in that hidden folder, it hides it from yourself. So you can't even see notifications. There's no dings. There's no nothing. So for you to actually interact with that app in its totality, you got to go into that hidden folder. So,
I mean, but if a kid trying to have an OnlyFans,
here's the thing.
But you can still, it's screen time.
Right.
The way around that for parents is they've got to get intimate with the screen time, because the screen time, it'll show you the activity per app.
And everything regardless. So you would still be able to see,
you can see the activity,
the screen time of the hidden apps.
Right. You can't open up the app. You can't go into it. You can't click around it in screen time. But if you can, triage some stuff, you can go in there and see if the kid is spending 70% of their phone time in this app. But you go on the app and can't find it on the screen. You got some additional questions to ask. But then that goes again, it's not just going to be as simple as Apple secure my kid. You are going to have to, as the parent, are going to have to be aware of these things, or just knowledgeable enough to be able to ask these questions. If you ain't, then ain't no sense of you trying to get mad at Apple for trying to secure people's phones, because secure is the whole point. Therefore, you or anybody else can't get access to that stuff.
That's the point, Terrance. If you as a parent are giving your child a supercomputer that they can carry in their pocket that has more processing power than all of NASA had during the Apollo missions, then you need to learn
better
something.
know how to use that damn phone.
Don't just hand it over to them and then you have no idea how it works, and they're doing whatever they need to do. Just had this conversation within the last week, and we were talking about this, to where a buddy of mine, he would do spot checks on his children's phones. They're sitting there at the table, put your phones out right now. And this kid's new. It's like, oh, wait a minute. No, there ain't no wait a minute. There is no locking stuff now. It's like, I want to see your phone right now. So he would take the phone and hold it to their face and then just start going through it.
Jesus. I ain't that for real. But what I do is, like, for instance, today it's Apple update day, right? So I'm telling them, hey, it's iOS update day. Did you do it? While they're off or whatever. And then at the end of the day, I'm like sitting at the dinner table, for example, say, hey, how's it going with the apps or whatever. All right, let me show you how to do this. And then I open up the phone and show her how to do the feature. But in the meantime, I'm quick scan it, right? I don't necessarily have a set up time. It's like, all right, drop your phones. But, periodically I am in there, making sure that things are copacetic.
If I had $1 for every parent that I've ever spoken to that was like, I don't know what these phones and I'm just like, you pay for the phone. Like, you have the you should feel empowered to
Have some more.
audit that phone
Mhm,
at any
mhm,
time, like
mhm,
literally at any time. And to the corollary to that is that you also do have to get to know how to use the phone. Like,
mhm.
I get it, it's another thing in the list, the long list of things that you have to do, but you have to get to know that phone just as
Mhm.
intimately as your kid knows that phone. And it just is, it sucks.
And it's
It's more work,
annoying, like,
and you're
for
right, but it is what it is.
and it's
And,
annoying as a parent to have to, anytime my kids want to install an app, they gotta ask my permission. My
As they should.
my middle child, when she wants to install something on her computer, I gotta go in. I've got to set up to where I've got an administrator for all of the
mhm,
computers. It's just
Mhm.
administrator account. I don't care if you got a computer, it's your account on there and then the administrator's account on
That's
there.
right.
At any time I can log into that computer, and the kid that is the user, they're just a user. They are not an administrator
right.
of that computer.
That's
So when
right.
they try to go to install stuff, when they try to download stuff, enter administrator password, and they automatically got to go ping me. And then of course, like the whole, it's a little bothersome, especially when you doing something and you got to stop. All right, go in there, but that gives me the time again, like I mentioned, to unlock her computer. And I'm like, so what is this for?
That's
What's
right.
going on?
That's
Why are you
right.
downloading this?
Asking those
Why do you
questions.
need this?
Mhm.
You got to
Yes.
you got to you got to
Yes.
answer my questions before I enter the little password and let you
That's
in.
right. That's absolutely right. And I just wish more parents would take that stance as it relates to digital technology and their kids, because a lot of them really do just hand the phone over and that's it. There's never another conversation about it. And then
No
your
expectations.
there's no
Yeah.
expectations. There's nothing. There's
Mhm.
literally nothing. And you're giving this phone to a sixth grader. You know what I mean? Which is crazy to me. And
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's
come
like
on,
you don't
parents,
just
I need y'all to do better.
you don't just hand over the keys to your car to your 16-year-old just
Some
because they
do.
are legal age to
Some
have a
look
car. Some
look,
parents
man,
do,
some of them
most
do,
parents
and then
don't.
these kids get into trouble, and the parents swoop down, and they either, one, handle it all themselves, so the kids don't know have no sense of how am I gonna figure out this thing, or two, it's just like, the parents just, like you said, just completely hands off,
Hands off, just
and then
hands
don't
off.
know what,
It's so sad.
and then it's pointing the finger. It's like, how come y'all gave my child a driver's license? I'm like, well, that's what
Right.
we do. We give them
Well,
driver's
or
license.
how, yeah, like, oh, now you want to, and don't get me wrong, tech companies need to do a better job of
Sure.
things as well. But when stuff goes down, now everybody want to blame, everybody want to find somebody to sue,
Mhm.
everybody want to scream at Congress, everybody want to do all the things and be all the outraged when you could have just raised your kid better in the first place. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. Like, I
And,
don't
and,
care. I'm
Slock
and
it
putting it
here's
out
the
there like
slock
thing:
it
that.
down a little bit.
at least with the driver's license, the state that they get the driver's license in will determine whether or not you have shown enough sufficiency to be able to operate a 2,000-pound missile that can go 100 miles an hour. At least the state is checking on that. Now they're not going to know whether or not your child is responsible or not. That's still the parent, but at least they're going to say, do you know what you do when you get to a stoplight? Do you know that you need to drive on the right side of the road? They at least make sure that you can pass a test to where
Mhm.
that is the case. And that's not the
Mhm.
case with a lot of parents. They just buy these phones and just
It's
hand them
not.
over and then have no clue as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Making the case for digital literacy in schools
Yep,
all
yep,
day.
yep.
Holla
yeah,
at me, y'all.
we're going to change gears a little bit and talk about the Fearless Fund. We mentioned it last week, but we want to get in because they made some news this week. So for those who don't know, the Fearless Fund was or is a organization based out of Atlanta. And one of the grants that the Fearless Fund was doing was a $20,000 grant for specifically Black women entrepreneurs. And they ended up getting sued. It was taken to court that it was said that this was not legal. This is something that I believe the group was the American Alliance for Equal Rights. That is the group that is headed up by Edward Bloom. That is the lawyer in the Supreme Court case that overturned affirmative action in colleges. And basically, what he was saying, there's a couple of laws. One of them from back in 1800s, and one I believe like the early 1980s, that you couldn't use race as a mechanism for discriminating against other folks. So essentially, this $20,000 grant that this organization was giving out, they went to court. In the initial court case, they won it, but then it got overturned on appeals. And what the Fearless Fund has decided to do is that let's just settle this appeal, and they have taken down or they have ended the Fearless Fund, this $20,000 grant. Now, here's the interesting thing about it: they only had one grant left. They had already given most of them out. So basically, what they're saying, and what their lawyer is saying, is that we don't want this to go to the Supreme Court to where there will be precedent that potentially could be set, because we know that we've got this super majority of conservatives, 6-3, that if they make a precedent there, it could mess it up for everybody. So they just decided to, let's just acquiesce and let's just let this go away and go and do all the things that we've been doing, all the other grants that we've been doing. They've got other programs where they dole out much more money than these $20,000 grants, but they are open to everyone, not just to specifically Black women. So I wanted to get you guys' take on that, because some folks, when you start looking at the news that's coming out today and over the weekend, oh, well, they're not fighting the fight. I think we all kind of thought that this is how it was going to ultimately end up happening, but I want to get your takes on it.
I think they were very strategic in settling, because to your point, you don't want this to become precedent. The one person, I'm sure they found a way to get that one person, that one company, their $20,000 that needed to be, to finish out that particular, it's called the Strivers grant, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure they found a way to slide that person their money on the low. I appreciate the fact that they finally changed the language on their website, and they're opening things up to under-resourced founders, and that can be men or women. But the language was so important. I think we talked about this in many episodes ago. Like, just change the language on the website. You can still give the money to whoever you want to get the money to. Just change the language on the website, and they did do that, and they do now have small business loans that they are facilitating. They actually got $200 million to facilitate debt reduction for small businesses. The application is on the website right now. Qualifications are that you have to be in business at least one full calendar year. You need to own 20% or more of the business. You have to have $50,000 or more in annual revenue. You have to have a credit score greater than 600. And this is for all U.S. states except for Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Vermont, Tennessee, and Washington, D.C. And you can get a loan anywhere from $5,000 to $250,000 with flexible interest rates starting at 8.49%, flexible terms from 1 to 5 years with no prepayment penalties. So this is to get. It says under-resourced entrepreneurs often struggle to secure capital as they are systematically shut out from traditional financing. So this is a way for some small businesses to get money that may not have been able to get it before. So, it is what it is. Go get that money. They got it. Go get it. The application is open on the page. fearless.fund/loans.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So here's the thing, with this, when it still bothers me. I was not shocked.
Oh, it's some bullshit.
I was not shocked that this is what they're having to do, but it bothers me because when you look at Black women specifically, they are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the country right now. Black women are building more businesses more quickly than any other group that we look at. But when it comes specifically to Black women, what is it here? 0.34%. That is basically 1/3 of 1% of venture capital goes to businesses led by Black women. Not 1%, not 3%, 1/3 of 1%. You got to take 1% and divide it by 3, and that's what goes to Black women. And this is based off of 2021 numbers, which are the best that they've ever been, because that's a year after George Floyd, when companies are, oh yeah, let's go ahead and get some money out to folks that we don't normally give it out to. So the bothersome part is that it has never been an issue that why do so few Black women-led businesses get venture capital? But as soon as somebody says, well, you know what, that is a problem, let's go see if we can do something to fix it. Hey, Black women, here's something that you can apply to get funding to help you in these businesses that you're starting up. No, you can't do that. That's that,
And
you can't, even though we're telling you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you
right.
can't do that, because we want to make sure that, it has to be fair for everybody, even though it's not
And
fair
I
for you.
get it. And I get it. And I feel like, all that needed to be done. I could be oversimplifying this, so I'm going to caveat the statement with that. But I think all that needed to be done was just to not necessarily put that in the language,
Mm-hmm.
because you can ask an Ed Blum, why aren't you going after Andreessen, because they don't give no money to no black folks, and definitely don't give it to Black women. And they can say, well, there's nothing in their language that says that Black women can't apply. They can apply, they just obviously aren't getting it. So you can always
Mm-hmm.
use that use the language as the technicality, and all they ever had to. And I understand you're a Black woman, you wanted to be for Black women, and I think that's great. But if you had just put a Black woman in the poster on the front of the website, or in all of your marketing, have it be people of color, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to necessarily say it's just for Black people, but all of the marketing could have
Mm-hmm.
implied that. And when people apply, you can look, we picked the people that we felt were the best, da 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 da
Right.
da, just the same way Andreessen says it. We picked the people that were the best fit. And you could say that as well, and none of this would have been an issue. And it's a shame that it had to go through all this and all this money that got spent on these lawyers and everything else, when you could have just been as strategic as they do and keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? And just keep it pushing. So hopefully, I don't know. I don't know what comes next. I think maybe a lesson was learned, because again, the language on the website is very different now. And hopefully we can just keep doing what we've been doing. We just ain't gotta run our mouth about it. You know what I mean? Like everybody else. Like
Yep.
everybody else.
I agree 100%. That was my whole thing. I'm petty. So, like I said, change the wording and then still give it only to
And do
Black
what you
people.
gonna do,
And take
right?
all the pictures when y'all give the money away every single year.
Absolutely.
And like you said, Stephanie, all the marketing is nothing but Black folks. And every year it just so happened that a Black woman get the money. We don't know what to tell you. We picked the
Well,
best qualified candidates.
listen, but the language but I think that they nailed the language, because they can say under resourced.
Uh-huh.
And
Mm-hmm.
when you look at that stat you just threw out, Rob, 0.3%, we always gonna be under resourced. So when you we're always we'll always be the most under resourced. I'll
Right.
put it that way. Black women are always going to be the most under resourced. So all you had to ever do was change that language to say under resourced.
Sounds
Right.
super
And
petty than
Black
that.
women are the most under resourced. So that's why we keep getting the money. Like,
I'm
boom.
I'm pettier than that. I'm like, we open it up for everybody and only give it to Black women.
Well,
Every year
that's
I
gonna
would
be a
have to
problem if you say it. But here's the
no,
thing:
I wasn't gonna say it.
if
I'm
you
just
do
Under
it,
resourced.
if you
Under
do it, it's like,
resourced covers it.
when we got to the interviews, we just felt that this company really aligned with our values, and that's why we gave them the money. It wasn't anything against this other company. It's just that we really felt that we only had, there was two, and there was only one to give, and we just felt it was more apropos to go here. And then
Under
when they say, well, wait a minute, when it comes to these other groups, you're only African American women are only 7.9% of the population. These other groups are significantly larger than that. And it's like, yeah, it's really interesting. But before you holler at us, go holler at these other venture capital firms that are only giving 7.9% of the population,
I wouldn't do all
1/3 of
that.
1% of the grant.
I'd be like, yo, that's crazy. And going about my business.
Yeah, that's
But all you have to
yeah,
do
no,
is
you
say,
said,
well,
that's
hey,
crazy.
white men get funding at 98%. We're looking at under-resourced founders, period.
Mhm.
Black women are the most
Yeah.
under-resourced, therefore they get the most money. If you're like, well, why didn't this white person, or why didn't the Asians get resources? That you hit them with the data. You ain't got to lie
I
to
wouldn't
kick
even do
it.
all
You know
that.
what I'm saying? Hit them with the data. If we're saying we're supporting under-resourced founders, Black women are the most under-resourced
Mhm.
founders. Ergo, they gonna get this money. And that's it. And you can't argue the numbers. You can't argue the
No,
numbers. The data, the numbers are the numbers. The data is the data.
Fearless Fun got with their lawyers and was like, so how can we continue to do exactly what we're doing,
But
but
even
legally?
even the Bloom dude in this comment, he says it is hoped race exclusive programs like the one offered by the Fearless Fund will be stopped and opened to everyone regardless of their race. Other companies, including several law firms sued by Blum, have changed scholarships or fellowships to open to all races. That ain't got nothing to do with awarding to.
Right.
I would just be like, all
And
right, we open up everybody.
and that was the one thing I did think
Mhm.
that they messed up on, because it said wait a minute. I think it said he actually maybe asked them to, like you said, change.
Mhm.
It literally
Bet,
was, this was
bet,
all semantics.
bet.
Hmm.
Literally, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, this all came down to semantics, and they actually didn't want to do it. Wait a minute, let me find it, because I saw it. I should have wrote it down. Hold on. Yada, yada,
Yeah, I would do the
yada.
same thing. I would mimic exactly everything
The
all
exact
the other
same
funds are
thing.
doing. We know for a fact that, and all the VC funds know, we know that they don't openly explicitly pick specifically white men to give this money to. I mean, we know in the all the documentation, we know in all the presentations, we know in all of the programs that they got, nowhere does it say we want to give this specifically to white men because that's who runs the world. So we're going to continue the status quo. They don't say that, but we all know for a fact
We
that's
all
exactly
know.
what's happening. So I'm going to mimic that exactly and be like, ain't nowhere on my website does it say that I do whatever, whatever, whatever. You're welcome. Anybody. I don't care how much
Anybody.
money you got. I don't care what you look like. You can apply all day long
Yeah.
and just leave it at
Well, and
that.
I found it. It said Alfonso David, President and CEO of the Global Black Economic Forum and counsel to the Fearless Fund, shot back in an interview with the Associated Press that the Fearless Fund was not going to allow Ed Blum to dictate how they run their business. And so I feel like ego might have got caught up in that a little
Could
bit,
be.
because literally all you could have done exactly what you just did, changing the language on the website from black women to under resourced, before all of this ever got to trial in the first place.
And the
And it's
appeals and the money and
right.
yeah.
And it sounds like you wanted to stand on business, which I'm not mad about
And
necessarily, but how many people are going to suffer now because you can't, because this grant program is not in existence anymore, and now,
well,
Right.
it
you know
should
what I
be
mean?
zero.
So
It should be zero because, as we said, they only had in this particular in this particular fund, they only had
right.
in the Strivers Fund, they only had one more grant to give. They had already given most of them out, and none of the lawsuits said, "Well, you got to go back and reclaim that money." That was not part of the lawsuit. It's just that you can no longer do this. So, yeah, I understand why we're going to
I
fight it
do
in
too.
court, and they won the first court case.
Wanted to
It's like,
make a
okay, we
point.
won this.
Yeah, it was
So
you
if they're
were
going to
standing
appeal it,
on principle.
yeah. So when it goes up on appeal, oh, that's where the problem is. So they go back and forth for a while. I'm just happy that they did say, you know what, let's just go ahead and settle this, and let's end this fund. It only had one more grant to give, and we can focus on all these other hundreds of millions of dollars that we have to dole
Yeah.
out in ways that are deemed to not violate law.
Listen,
So
we helping under resource founders. Black women are the most under resource founders. Period. So
Steph,
there you go.
you stuck this next story in our rundown about Oprah. Oprah is basically she's been having some conversations with folks that run big AI companies. Sam Altman is the name that comes to mind here, but Oprah, who, if people have paid attention, she has not really been down with with AI for a while, for some time. She's kind of like, it scares me. I don't know if this is, if this is the thing we should be doing. But she had some conversations with some folks, and it seems like she has completely changed her tune.
Yeah, so there was an ABC special that aired on September 12th, in prime time. I didn't get a chance to catch it, but it is on Hulu right now. If you want to check it out, I'm actually going to watch it as soon as we finish up with this today. I want to just see what she had to say. But she sat down with Sam Altman, with Bill Gates. Actually, Marquez Brownlee made an appearance on the show. I was like, damn, brother, chilling with Oprah now. I was like, dang, Marquez, I ain't mad at that at all. But before this interview, she was very fearful and not really understanding what AI could do.
Trepidation is
Now,
probably the word.
trepidation. Now, after he was telling me about all the things it could do, I'm saying, okay, don't be scared. Don't be scared. And she said, I think we should be disciplined and we should honor it and have a reverence for what is to come and respect. I think it's going to change in ways that are unimaginable for good. And just as there's good, there's the yin and the yang of everything. So we need to do whatever we can so that we are not in the same position that we are in now with social media, meaning we need to get our arms around regulation and, policy and things like that to make sure that we're, 5 years from now, we ain't saying the same thing that we're saying about social media today. So, it all sounds good, but I just feel like why is Oprah Winfrey the AI sort of harbinger, like the person trying to get the what's in it for her, honestly? And no shade against Oprah. Listen, Oprah, if you're listening, holla at your girl. But what is in it for her in this moment now?
Mm-hmm.
To be embracing AI and Sam Altman in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing. I'm like, after they've done everything they could at OpenAI to get rid of all the guardrails they had put in place when the company was founded, like, you really believe this dude is the dude that's gonna, make this stuff? Like, I'm skeptical. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm skeptical.
Well, Oprah's a business,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to put her in some extra special category of anybody, really. She's a business. There have been several instances. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, this is overshadowed by all the positives and all the benefits that Oprah has brought to the world, but she's also had some people on her shows and some of the stuff that she's greenlit or, co-signed, right, that did not work. That stuff did not work, so for me to say, oh, Oprah, you don't know nothing about no AI, shut up, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure her company is like, yo, AI is the biggest talk of the town. Who can we get in here to add, to get in on the conversation? Well, Oprah's big enough to go get Sam Altman.
Right.
So you go
And
get
Bill
Sam
Gates.
Altman.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
apparently Marquez Brownlee.
Right. If she didn't have the juice,
Listen,
they
had she
wouldn't be
called
talking.
me, I would be right there talking
Right.
about, what, AI can benefit everybody.
Right. So I don't necessarily look at, Oprah talking about AI as some sort of, visa stamp or green light for everybody to go do it, but at the same time, I get it. She's a business person and who's, AI is a big talk. Sam Altman is the big guy. So if I can get him and, exchange some pleasantries, that's going to look good for me,
Yeah.
regardless of the long-term effects, because again, it's a crapshoot with some of the stuff that she's promoted back in the past,
So I want to be careful with how I say this. I don't want to paint Sam Altman like the Sith Lord Emperor from Star Wars. But he
However,
does have some Senator Palpatine type tendencies in the way that he deals with stuff before we know that he might become the Sith Lord Emperor, in Star Wars. So it's interesting to me that it wasn't Bill Gates, because, Bill Gates and Oprah they've done stuff before. It wasn't Bill Gates that convinced you to change your tune. It was Altman is the one who,
and
who
that's
changed
my
your mind.
thing. I'm
And
just
I don't even
like,
think it was. I don't even think it was that far. I just think she is doing her thing for this conversation. I don't think nobody changed her mind into doing anything. I think when they said, "Oh, we need to talk about AI," who can we get? Let's get Sam Altman. That was the extent of her
right.
acceptance of, now we're just seeing the what's the word, digestible version of whatever that his message wanted to get out, and you digest it by going through Oprah because she's
But
everybody's mama.
see, but I would not be surprised though, and you to your point about Oprah being a business, I would not be surprised if the new product to hit the market, the shelves, is an app that does X, Y, and Z, powered by OpenAI, brought to you by Oprah Winfrey. Like I said, the idea that, literally before that show, she was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy. AI is going to take over." It's great. And then you talk to this guy, not Bill Gates, to your point, Rob, not anybody else. You talk to this guy, and now you're like, "Oh no, oh my God," because I did watch the little clip of the part of the ABC interview that they had in the article, and she's like, "Yeah, I use it to, look up something on Airbnb and da, 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 da," and it was amazing. Like she was a
Like you on
little
Airbnb. Come on.
right. She was a little too
I love bread about it.
yeah,
Yes,
and
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
perfect. That's the perfect analogy.
Yes, 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 yeah. So I'm waiting now for whatever that AI product brought to you by Oprah Winfrey and own, powered by OpenAI, is going to be, because we're going to see it soon,
Yeah.
very soon.
Like I said, to me, it just seemed like she had a whole lot of trepidation before. And here's what I expected. All right, Sam, I'm gonna take your word for it. It's kind of a little bit of side eye. It's like, okay, you've brought me along, but the complete 180 turnaround that it seems like she has done was like, that's
This
the dude
whole
that did it for
special
you.
was a marketing.
Sure.
That it was the beginning
A
of a
mutually
marketing
exclusive
push. Yeah, a marketing
But
push.
I will say this though, Sam Altman is on his game. It's like if you can get Oprah. Like Oprah was someone who was kind of like, she is. I don't want to say she spoke out against AI, but she's always said, "This scares me. I don't know, y'all." It's like, this.
The amount of
Yeah,
skepticism,
she was
as
skeptical,
you should be.
and so he's on his game. If you can bring an Oprah around,
Listen,
he's on his game.
when
You
you
have to give
raising
him that skill.
$65 billion, you can bring anybody around. Okay.
Anybody who could say, yeah, so Earth, I want about 70 trillion. Or no, it wasn't 70 trillion. It was 7.7 trillion.
7 trillion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7 trillion. But when you can
Right.
say you want $7 trillion with a straight face,
Right.
it's just gonna cost you 7
You can make anybody do anything. And
pretty
I
much.
think, like I said, he made Oprah an offer she couldn't refuse. And we will just wait and see. And Mark, what time is it? It is 6:53 on Monday, September 16th, 2024. Mark my words on this, because however long it takes is however long it takes, but we will see an Oprah Winfrey endorsed, some AI powered product brought to you by Oprah Winfrey, powered by OpenAI.
And I'm not even mad at that, because as Terrance said, she is a business. She isn't. She's in an industry, but she is a big company. She's created a big company, and if this is what they do, and it ultimately is good for her and her shareholders and her employees and this and that and the other, I'm not mad with it, because AI is not going anywhere. It is here to stay.
Absolutely.
It is, folks are saying it's a bubble, maybe, but it's kind of like, it's not like it's going to burst and then there's going to be no more AI. Things may just slow down at some point, but I don't even know if that's the truth. So at the end of the day, I'm not really mad at Apple.
But I would have wanted her to be a little bit more journalistically responsible. I will, like I said, I have not watched the whole special yet, so we'll see if she really kind of grills and unearths some of the potential downsides of the technology in a way that keeps people informed about the good and the bad, and not just, oh, now it's great because Sam Altman said so. You know what I mean? So hopefully there's enough balance in the actual piece, that you not just doing, I mean, you're doing it to sell something, but hopefully, there's still enough in there that gives people all of the information in both sides.
So guys, since the pandemic, I have been pretty consistent with saying that we're not going to go back to the way things were before the pandemic, to where everybody just goes into the office every day and that's just how people work. But I also believe there's gonna be a whole heck of a lot of folks going into the office, if not every day, most every day, every week, as we get further and further away from having to wear masks and socially distance and all that kind of stuff. And it turns out that Amazon, they're saying that come next year, we want all of y'all, basically all of their corporate employees are going to be back in the office 5 days a week. What say you?
Well, I mean,
That's their prerogative.
it sucks, but it sucks. It sucks for the people that have figured out how to live a hybrid life, and it works better for all involved. But if that's what your company is telling you to do, like I don't know how you get around that as a non-union employee. I'm not sure how you get around that.
Yep. CEO Andy Jassy made the announcement about the policy Monday, writing that the change will, quote, help its thousands of employees invent, collaborate, and be connected enough to each other and around our culture to deliver the absolute best for customers and the business.
So you say.
So here's my thought. I don't know this to be a fact. I just have a theory. I wonder if this is a way for Amazon to do more layoffs amongst their corporate staff without having to actually do layoffs. If they're going to have people self-terminate, people are just going to resign. So they don't have to go out and pay those big severance packages. When you resign, you don't get all that stuff as though you were laid off.
You don't get no Cobra.
I wonder if
you don't get Cobra when you quit.
Because Andy Jassy has been. He basically has had 10 toes down on this. It's like, y'all don't want to come in 3 days a week. Cool. We will replace you. We believe that we could find somebody to do the job who wants to come in 3 days a week more easily than than not doing so. So, and now they're saying 5 days a week. So I'm just wondering, are you going to see enormous amounts of people, not enormous, are you going to see a fair amount of people decide this is just not for me, and they're going to basically self-resign? They're going to go out and find that other job and then leave the company, and then that role just doesn't get replaced. That is how they are ultimately doing another type of reduction in staff, another type of reduction in force. That's one of the things I think. The other one is that Amazon's got billions of dollars in real estate, and they're just not going to let that investment go to waste. It's like we built these buildings, put people in them. People will be in them as long as we still own these buildings. I think that's a part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just so interesting how, and I guess it's just capitalism, at its finest, but that corporations just don't care about the will of their people. But I guess that's we can say the same thing about our government too, right?
Well,
don't care about the will of their employees, because most people will say they want some sort of hybrid opportunity and option, and companies they just don't care.
They just don't care because, again, like you mentioned, Rob, they can replace you, and there's some dude or some young lady waiting in the wings, been dying to get into Amazon, and there's some person that decided, hey, I'm not doing a hybrid thing. I've changed my whole life around. This is my new life now. Let me go find a company that suits my new life, right? There's somebody waiting in the wings to replace them. So Amazon's like, all right, well, we're Amazon. Now, until that changes, and what I mean by that, not necessarily Amazon being Amazon, but Amazon's being so sure of the fact that we've got this pool of people that will be gladly being able to replace that outgoing person or whatever the case may be. This is back to, not necessarily back to, but the people that have said, I believe I'm most productive when I have a better quality of life, freedom, whatever you want to call it, as to why they want to work from home. Those are going to have the people that's going to say, you know what, in mass, this is going to have to change to where these companies are like, we can't really find anybody to fit these spots, because everybody that we talk to, talent agencies, whatever, they're requesting hybrid or 100% remote. Until that happens to where they've got to change, these companies going to be like, hey man, y'all do what we say because we on top.
And it's interesting though, but I feel like too that city governments have something to do with this as well. Because I mean, this signals the death of the American city. Honestly, when you have a situation where, all the people that work at anywhere you would buy lunch from, and all the shop owners and all the, you know what I mean? Like a downtown area would shrivel up and die if this sort of hybrid work schedule continues to persist. So, you know, I have to imagine, because we're having that situation in Philadelphia right now. Our mayor, our new mayor, we just got a new mayor in at last November's election, and she has mandated that all city workers have to come back, and the unions are fighting her tooth and nail. But I believe, though, in some sense, she's trying to save Philadelphia, or
Right.
at least Center City proper, because if you don't have these people coming into the city, now your mass transit suffers, your, you know, like I said, restaurants
And most people schedule, they find dentists and doctors based on where they work, not where they
right,
live,
right,
where they work. Because
right.
on lunch, I can go pop into the pediatrician, I go pop into my primary care physician, my dentist, or whatever the case may
Right.
be, and turn back
Mhm.
around and go back to work.
How
If
many
I ain't
people ain't going to happy hours after
right,
work? How many
yep,
people aren't
yep.
going to theaters, shows at theaters after work because they're here? And let's go get them. Let's go hit the Tuesday night show or whatever.
But I
It's a
just
lot.
think it's a shame that we, as the people, are subject to one, save the city, right? Because it's like, all right, like that whole thing that you just mentioned, Stephanie. It's like we need the people spending money in order to stabilize or continue the economy the way it runs now. Not get these cities to stop wasting all this money, not getting these corporations to pay their fair shares of taxes, not stop giving these tax incentives to these new manufacturing companies that's supposed to bring all these jobs. None of that. They don't change none of that. It's always like the least
Yeah,
of
they
us.
always
It's
put
like,
the burden on the little
yeah,
man,
and it's
on the
like,
little
come on,
guy.
man.
Hmm.
Tired of that.
Hmm.
Folks was tired of that.
So here's you know, one of the things I think about local governments. They definitely are concerned about the city, the downtown areas where these businesses
Hmm.
are. I truly think that when it comes to a company like Amazon, their thought about the downtown area is, well, do we have people who are leasing space from us with restaurants and stuff like that in our buildings? If that's the case, that might go into their, you know, into their calculation for this. I think what it really comes down to is, for every survey, for every report, for every type of every type of study
Oh,
that shows that employees are way more productive when they're just home all the time. You're going to find the exact same amount of studies are going to show these employees are also way more productive when they are in the office. And is Amazon particularly, are they cherry picking their data? Probably to some extent. But I don't believe that there are zero benefits to people being in a place where they all work and you can see people's faces outside of, you know, looking at a
Absolutely.
computer screen. So I don't want to put that out there, but I do think that this is part of it. A lot of what we're talking about, as far as the employees that are upset with this, it's a cultural thing. And what Andy Jassy is saying clearly is that our culture is not going to be a culture of where we work remote. We're going to be a culture of where you come into the office and you do your work in these big giant buildings that we have built for you. And I think over time, one of two things will happen. You know, definitely one of these two things will happen. They will either begin to struggle to have good, you know, the best of the best employees that want to work there, because the best of the best have decided that this is just not a culture that I want to be a part of. Or you will find people that like making that Amazon money, that like, those Amazon benefits, that will say, hey, if this is the culture, this is the culture, and I can get down with it, because before 2020, everybody got down this way. I mean, clearly there were people who worked remote, but not like there is now. You know, most people were going in, and most people, I like I don't want to be one of those people who says that everybody should be should be self-employed and just work for themselves and create their own businesses. Because if you did that, everybody would be solopreneurs, and you would never be able to buy a car. You would never be able to fly on a plane. You would never be able to literally buy a house that you didn't know the people who built it for you. There are huge benefits to people working for other folks, and and there are many companies out there. I believe that I've worked for two that they really treated their employees well. I enjoyed working for that organization, and they had certain cultures that I got down with. I think that will still be the case with a company like Amazon. We'll find out over time, is that will they be able to replace all the folks who are not down with, coming in 5 days a week more quickly than those folks leave, and then they're suffering because they don't have the top talent working in that organization. I think that's the experiment that's about to happen right now. And I believe that Andy Jassy is saying, no, I think we're going to be fine with all the stuff that we're doing in AI
No,
and all the
they're not.
things.
They're
You,
not.
you don't
They're
think so?
not. We're going to see the transformation of American cities
Mhm.
happen over the next 10
We got to
years. It's
change.
going to be
Yeah.
it's going to be a very different American city, or major metropolitan area. I'll say it that way. Like our major metropolitan areas are going to change dramatically and transform dramatically because of this hybrid work.
And just in
We'll see it.
general, things
Mhm.
change, man. It's
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
yeah,
things change.
yeah.
So it's like
It's gonna be wild different.
it's unfair for companies, corporations, cities, governments, or whatever, and say, this is gonna stay this is gonna stay the same. Or when it's time to change, it's the top pushing the change to the people, right? All right,
Mhm.
this is what we're
Mhm.
doing different. But when the people decide it's all right, we gotta change, y'all gotta adjust as sharp of a turn that we have to the regular people have to take when cities and governments push down these whatever. It's got to do it in reverse too. And it's like with this remote work, I think this is the one time where people was like, you know what? I do have
Yeah,
a
this
choice.
is good. This is gonna be
Yeah.
a tipping
I do
point,
have a
and
choice.
we're gonna see a major change
I
in the way metropolitan areas in this country look.
I feel like this. If you are calling somebody in corporate, in the corporate office at Amazon, you better call them before 4, because the closer you get to 5, I gotta go by click. I just see that happening. With the whole quiet quitting, which I don't want to say that's a thing. I think that's the thing. If you are expecting your employees to do more work than you actually pay them to do, that's a problem with the organization, not with the employee. You should never have an employee saying that I'm going to do the job you pay me to do, and I'm not thinking about this place when you're not paying me to think about it. But I do believe that you better make them phone calls before 4, because at the closer you get to 5, I'm sorry, I must have lost reception and I had to clock out at 5, so hit me back tomorrow.
Please, my ringer
Yeah.
going off at 3:30.
And the phone's going in the drawer, the laptop slamming shut.
For real.
True story. I remember one of my first IT jobs. This is the first cell phone that I got. They got us BlackBerry pagers, and you now are somehow on call because you have this pager. And I remember our CIO was saying, it's like, well, we sent these text messages out, but nobody responded. And it's like, but nobody works after hours unless they're on call. So why would I just, because you page me, just automatically pick it up and start doing some work if I'm not on call to do it? And it was more of a thing of where they had to, we had to change the way that people are on calls. Like if you are on call, you do need to check your pager, because it was just, they were so new, people just weren't they just weren't using them. Like that was my first pager. My first pager and my first cell phone were supplied by my company, and I just didn't even know how to use them. But it was like, I would put that thing in my drawer when I was done, at the end of the day, and then go home. It's like, I don't want nobody calling me if I'm not being paid to be called. And that goes all the way back to like the mid to late 90s. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt. This is not the last, clearly, that we're going to hear this story.
Mm-mm.
But y'all, we are at the top of the hour. Before we do our call outs here, I do want to let folks know that if you would like to support the Tech Jawn, you can do so by heading over to the techjawn.com/Patreon. We've got multiple tiers over there, any one of which gets you access to our live stream and after party, and a couple of those tiers get you access to an ad-free stream in your RSS. We also want to give a shout out to BV Muir, who gave us a raise since our last episode. So they have been supporting us for some time and actually gave us a raise. They moved to a near tier within our Patreon. So once again, head over to the techjawn.com/Patreon, and anything you do to support the show so we can bring this tech to you the way we bring it to you is much appreciated. That being said, Tech Life Staff, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at TechLifeSteph, or check out StephanieHumphrey.com. Or I'm going to put in a plug this week, because I've been writing a series of essays for Technically and a website called Love Now Media around artificial intelligence. And my 4th one is up now. And I have one more to go. So it'll be a series of 5. So just sort of examining AI in education, AI in personal safety, AI and jobs, AI and healthcare, different things like that. So check it out. Go to Technically, Phillies Technically, and or lovenowmedia.com, and holla at your girl.
All right, all right. And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at all things Robb Dunewood, and we're also at all things at the Tech Jawn. So holler us however you holler, and until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.